Comtrex relieves the whole cold.
Tristan didn't relieve my cough.
But Comtrex relieves the whole cold.
Contact didn't do anything for my aches, pains, and fever.
But Comtrex relieves the whole cold.
Bayer didn't help my nasal congestion, runny nose, or coughing.
But Comtrex relieves the whole cold. That means Comtrex works on nasal and sinus congestion, runny nose, sneezing, coughing, watery eyes, sore throat, nasal drip, headache, fever, pain, every major cold symptom. Comtrex, it relieves the whole cold.
New Kindness Waves present The Curl, redefined. The curl that out-curled rave. Introducing the new curl from Kindness Waves. We tested it side by side against Rave Soft Perms. And time after time, New Kindness Waves out-curled Rave by 4 to 1. Try New Kindness Curly Wave or Body Wave and see which side you're on.
Ann McKenzie, interior decorator for Endust.
Good furniture. I love it. But to take care of it, I don't recommend using spray wax too often because wax can build up. So just use it occasionally for wax shine. For regular day-to-day cleaning, use Endust. Endust cleans dirt and dust better without smeary wax buildup because there's no wax in it. Endust leaves just a clean, natural shine. So use spray wax for occasional waxing, but use Endust for day-to-day cleaning.
It happened one morning. 15 gray hairs. I'm too young to go gray. So I tried the Clairol color renewal system. It got rid of those dull grays. And I got a surprise. Color all over. Vibrant. Pretty. Looks shiny and feels soft. More volume. Gentle. No peroxide. No roots. Blends away gradually. Natural looking. Changed my feelings about hair color. I just love the Clairol color renewal system. It's so easy. Now, I'll never go gray.
Well, here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for. The polls are closed and the votes have all been counted. And now the movies you've selected for the next 2 Bristol-Myers Theaters are For Love of Benji and Mr. Roberts. Thank you for watching and voting tonight. We'll see you September 5th for the next Bristol-Myers Theater.
Shenandoah was brought to you by Clairol Color Renewal System. Once you use it and see how beautiful you look with no gray hair, you'll say, I'll never go gray. Tomorrow night on TBS, one man's battle for justice, another man's search for a new beginning. This is the story of the lives they touched. Don't miss David McCollum in Robert Louis Stevenson's Kidnapped, beginning tomorrow on the TBS Tuesday Night Movie.
Coming up next, get the latest in news, weather, and sports on the TBS Evening News. Right after, it's All in the Family. Then enjoy the warm Southern drama, The Catlins. Afterwards, Peter Sellers and Goldie Hawn star in There's a Girl in My Soup on SuperStation WTBS.
This is the TBS Evening News with Marcia Ladendorf, Don Miller, meteorologist Dallas Raines, and sports with Bob Kurtz.
Good evening. Marcia is on vacation. There are signs of progress this evening in the search for peace in Central America. American Special Envoy Richard Stone was in Nicaragua tonight for talks with the leaders of that leftist nation. And just yesterday, Stone met with the leader of Salvador's leftist rebels. CNN's Mike Betcher has more now from Managua, Nicaragua.
Ambassador Stone was riding the crest of his first Central American diplomatic breakthrough when he arrived in Managua for talks with the Marxist-Sandinista leadership of Nicaragua. His meeting with El Salvador's guerrilla leadership was the first successful peace initiative in a week that saw a continued military buildup by Honduran and Nicaraguan forces along their border, U.S. warships on maneuvers off the coast of Nicaragua, and Russian freighters sailing to Nicaragua with cargo the Reagan administration claims is military. Salvadoran rebel leader Ruben Zamora, who met with Stone, said after their meeting the chances for a political solution to the problems in Central America are much better than they were 3 or 4 months ago.
All those threatening signs of a growing military involvement of the Reagan administration in our countries make it even more urgent and necessary that we step up our effort trying to get a dialogue, trying to get a political solution.
The historic meeting was arranged by Colombian President Belisario Betancourt, who met with Stone Monday morning before he departed for Managua. Nicaragua's Sandinista leadership had wanted to talk to Stone about the huge U.S. military maneuvers planned for their border and coasts. But Ambassador Stone's talks with the Salvadoran rebel leader changed the tone of the meetings. The Reagan administration says the U.S. maneuvers are a response to Nicaraguan military support for Salvadoran rebels. The Nicaraguans believe a peace agreement in El Salvador could ease the U.S. military pressure against them. Stone and the Salvadoran guerrilla leader reportedly agreed to schedule talks between them and Salvadoran government representatives. However, there are many disagreements between the two sides, and a peace agreement will be difficult to obtain. Stone sees his role as a mediator between the Salvadoran government and the leftist rebels. The guerrillas, however, want to negotiate directly with Stone because they believe only the United States can change the events in El Salvador. Only a few weeks ago, Ambassador Stone's shuttle diplomacy appeared to be going nowhere. But this is the first day in several months that peace developments seem to be outpacing preparations for war. Mike Betcher, CNN, Managua, Nicaragua.
Ambassador Stone is heading for Washington this evening after his talks with Nicaraguan leaders. Stone would not provide any details of his talks except to say they were very useful. American intelligence experts are now saying that the flow of weapons from Nicaragua to the leftists in El Salvador is effectively at an end. Ralph Begleiter has details now from Washington.
The Reagan administration has long maintained that the leftist rebels in El Salvador get their weapons and supplies from Nicaragua, which gets them from Cuba and the Soviet Union. But administration officials now say the flow of heavy weaponry has virtually stopped to the Salvadoran rebels, partly because the guerrillas have captured American weapons from Salvadoran government forces, and partly because they were well supplied by Nicaragua last year. State Department spokesman John Hughes said the guerrillas in El Salvador have less need for new weapons from Nicaragua now, but Hughes said other supplies still make their way to the rebels from Nicaragua.
We believe that significant amounts of ammunition, explosives, and logistic supplies, including clothing, radios, radio parts, propaganda material, continue to arrive in El Salvador from Nicaragua by air, sea, and land.
Hughes said the reduced flow of heavy weaponry to El Salvador started at the beginning of this year. Until now, the administration has pointed to large Soviet ships docking in Nicaragua, saying they are carrying weaponry on its way to the Salvadoran rebels from the Soviet Union. Special U.S. Envoy Richard Stone is trying to set up negotiations between the guerrillas and the government of El Salvador. Stone has now met with both sides during his current trip to Central America and is expected to return to Washington after meeting with Sandinista leaders in Nicaragua. While the Reagan administration is talking to the Marxist government in Nicaragua, it is giving the cold shoulder to Fidel Castro's suggestion that the U.S. and Cuba engage in direct talks on problems in Central America. While keeping the administration's options open on recent Cuban and Nicaraguan peace initiatives, spokesman Hughes said there are no plans for direct talks with Cuba. Hughes said the administration favors negotiations under the auspices of the so-called Contadora Group, Panama, Venezuela, Mexico, and Colombia.
The administration declines to accept any suggestion that the flow of weapons to El Salvador is dwindling because Nicaragua may be ready to engage in serious negotiations through the Contadora Group for a Central American peace. The administration is actively pursuing negotiations through that group and in El Salvador itself, even as it sends thousands of troops and heavy military equipment on maneuvers in Central America. Ralph Begleiter, CNN, Washington.
This country's new special envoy to the Middle East, Robert McFarland, met with Lebanese officials today. It's the first time McFarland has been in the Midwest since he was picked by the president to try to work out the withdrawal of foreign forces from Lebanon. But Syria is already rejecting the new American peace effort. Mike Chinoy reports now from Yarzi, Lebanon.
McFarland spent his first day in Lebanon traveling in a heavily guarded motorcade to a series of meetings with top Lebanese leaders. But almost before it had gotten off the ground, his mission received a serious blow. President Hafez al-Assad's regime in Damascus launched a bitter attack on American Mideast policy, accusing Washington of helping